Good morning and
Good
welcome
morning.
to a Monday edition of the Blue Review. Before we get into anything, I'm just going to say from here on out through the playoffs, we will have, as you can see to my left or right, one of these sides, I don't know how mirrors work, our friend Clint Pasillas. Welcome. The real
Hey.
NYP,
What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? We're feeling a lot better this morning than we would have otherwise.
Could have been a very different episode today.
Yes, sir.
Entering Monday with a 3-game lead, of course, we're heading into the San Diego series with a 3-game lead over them, and it's going to be a very interesting series. So we're going to get into all that. We're going to react to this interesting Rockies series that just happened, the roller coaster it was, and more. So before we do so, just welcome to Marcus Grant and Greg Bergman. A lot of us had some interesting weekends with our sports teams, so we're just going to avoid all that and talk Dodgers. Man, but before we do, a reminder, here at the Blue Review, we're presented by LAX, and our friends at Los Angeles International Airport are always changing the travel experience, reducing traffic, saving guests time. So if you want to learn more, check it out at flyLX.com/transformingLAX. But Greg, steer this ship. Let's get right into this. A lot to get into about this Dodgers weekend.
So a lot of good, some bad, some concerning is the best way to put it. So how are you guys doing? So it's basically we had Dodgers won 2 out of 3 from the Rockies, but we had a little bit of a shaky start from Yoshinobu Yamamoto yesterday. He did go almost 80 pitches, so that helps in him getting built up. But how that game ended, Shohei Ohtani, again, I know we did this whole episode on Thursday about Shohei Ohtani, but every single time he has been the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen on a baseball field. And he goes to a point right now, Marcus, that, I think he's just willing himself to do what he wants at this point.
He is. I mean, he's at a point where now he just decides, I'm going to do this thing, and the thing happens. And that's kind of what it felt like yesterday. I'm watching pretty much all the NFL games for my main job, and I'm kind of focusing on those. But I do have the Dodgers on kind of on a small screen in the corner, just so I'm like monitoring that, and it's not going well. It's 4-0. And it's 5-1. I'm like, I'm already sort of bracing myself for the fact that the Padres may be coming in down only 2 games, and now worried about the division and all this other sort of. And then all of a sudden, Shohei hits 1, and then Mookie hits 1, and despair turns into some combination of joy and relief. But it is just. It's nice having those erasers in the top of the lineup, whether it's Shohei or Mookie or Freddie or any of those guys, to kind of propel this team. I mean, Clint, the pitching staff is sort of very much a work in progress, but I think the fact that we have these bats in this lineup at least allows us to have hope for the rest of the season and into October.
That's a great way of putting it. This I love what Steven Nelson said. Ohtani is inevitable. It seems like the length of this lineup is kind of inevitable because definitely a stinker. I'm not overly concerned about Yamamoto, and I'm sure we'll dive more into him as the show goes on, but this team can overcome those kind of starts, overcome a 3, 4, 5 run deficit, it feels like. And it's not just the top of the lineup. You're not just waiting for the slug. You're not waiting for the 1 through 5. I mean, Kike Hernandez getting a spot start because Max Muncy has another issue in his side, which they say won't be a problem, but Dave Roberts speak means that Max Muncy probably has about 3 minutes to live.
Yeah,
but
he's done.
Spot, with a 2-run homer to make it a ball game in the 7th, and then of course Ohtani, when he wants it, he goes out there and gets it. I was at the game yesterday, and the vibes were here, and then all of a sudden the 9th inning happened. It's like, what the F just happened? How did that happen? He steals 2 bases in the games, throws up a screaming dart of a homer. Then Mookie's like, before the crowd has even calmed down, send us home, Mookie. He sent us home.
Yeah, no, Mookie was great to see. And you know what? Parker Bell actually said this in our group chat the other day, is that despite how much time that Mookie has missed, he's still probably going to get 20 home runs, which is kind of crazy to see because he was out for 2 months, 2.5 months, something, whatever amount of time it was, to still be able to get to 20. That just shows that what type of player he is. And he's going to be hopefully like right in that point still when we get to the postseason. I found a stat yesterday on OptaStats. If you find OptaStats at all, last 4 games for Shohei Ohtani, just to kind of wrap it up with Ohtani here, Clint. 14 hits, 13 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, 5 home runs. That's what Shohei Ohtani has done over the last 4 games. And when they were in Miami, and they playing the Marlins in the game that he went 6 for 6, his batting average was 287. He's 301 now. In 4 games, this late in the season, he took his batting average up 14 points. That doesn't happen, especially this late.
Chipped in that 4-hit game that we're not really talking about, but hey, it was also a ho-hum 4-hit game, capped off with that homer in the 9th.
Yeah.
Higher. He's just insane, man. The fact that he's been buried in Anaheim for the last 6 years is a travesty for baseball. Thank God he's in LA now.
So, I guess, Marcus, it really comes down to, can they just get through it? Because if you have Shohei and you have Mookie and Freddie and Teo, you can get through anything despite the pitching.
Yeah, to a point. They're still going to need some quality starts. Yamamoto, last couple starts have not been clean. They were fortunate to win yesterday, but they're going to need better starts out of him. They're going to need Flaherty to continue to pitch well. They're going to have to figure out, who that number 3 guy is. I mean, look, Walker Buehler was not great his last time out. So now there are questions whether it's him. Landon Knack's trying to make a case for October. We'll get a sense of that on Tuesday when he faces the Padres. It seemed optimistic that Tony Gonsolin might be coming back, and whether or not he ends up as a starter, whether or not he ends up as long relief, that remains to be seen. But, it's great to know they can slug, but it's also one thing if you're hitting against the Rockies and the Rockies bullpen versus having to line up against, say, a Brewers pitching staff, or, heaven forbid they run up on a division opponent again and they got to deal with the Padres or the Diamondbacks or somebody, or, even if they see the Braves potentially again, it's a little bit of a different situation. So they're going to need some quality arms and get some quality innings out of guys.
So they had Clint. I think they said that Tony Gonsolin will not pitch as a starter. I think he's going to come. If he does come up, he's going to pitch out of the bullpen, which is basically where you need him anyway. It's not so much that while we need starters, he hasn't pitched for long enough and been coming off of Tommy John. It just doesn't seem right. With Landon Knack, if he does well tomorrow, is that your guy for either the 3 or 4 spot, Clint?
I mean, at this point, he already kind of is by default. But outside of that one stinker in, Atlanta, he's been really, really good. This kid has earned a spot. Definitely all of the bevy of injuries have put him in this position to earn this spot, but less than ideal. But he's proven he can kind of step up to the moment. I trust him a lot more than I trust even last year's Bobby Miller, which I don't know if that's saying something or not, or if I'm just saying something because I'm still half asleep right now. It was a long day yesterday. But I mean, you could be in worse situations. I will take Yamamoto, Flaherty, or whatever in that top 2, Knack or Buehler, and then Knack or Buehler in that top 4. I'll take that in a heartbeat over the 3 guys we saw, get swept last year with Kershaw shoulder falling off. Again, Bobby Miller just kind of didn't seem like he was all in it, and then Lance Lynn. Give me those 4 guys. I think they make it a ball game, and if Yamamoto can kind of not face the Rockies, because they were just free swinging yesterday. I don't think he missed his spots by a whole lot. They just were hitting everything, maybe a tip or something going on in there. Still, you got to like those guys a little bit more. And then if Gonsolin mixes in as a long guy, if Kershaw fits into some sort of long guy, they have a lot of pieces around. And again, not the most ideal situation, but at least they have some bodies that can fill some innings, and they're going to have to be creative, though. Dave's going to have to be, on his toes, managing, pitching staff this October, which I'm sure the chat is going to love. Dave Roberts needing to be on his toes with the pitching staff.
Because, every time Dave Roberts chooses to do something with his gut, it always works out perfect. It's always a really good situation. All right, but either way, all right, so let's kind of dive into Yamamoto just a little bit. It wasn't a great outing. He did get to 79 pitches, which is the most pitches he's thrown this season. He did get smacked around like you were saying, but it wasn't that his pitches were that off. He was finding spots, but they just were all on top of everything. Now, I don't know if that's so much of just him not pitching all that great, or if it was just, a situation where They were on fire that day. I don't know, Marcus. Are you worried about Yamamoto? Do you think that this was more of just a positive step moving forward because he got to almost 80 pitches?
Yeah, I'm choosing to look at it that way, right? That they got a little more, I won't say length because he only went 3 innings in the ball game, but to get the 80 pitches means they're building him back up again. Look, that first start when he came back and he just completely mesmerized the Cubs. I mean, that was amazing. Even that start against Atlanta, it wasn't the cleanest start. He had traffic all over the base paths, but he was able to work out of it, and so that was really encouraging. So I think if you sort of look at those two versus maybe yesterday against a Rockies team that, look, they got nothing to lose, right? Stand up there, go hacking, try and wreck somebody else's year. That's what the Rockies have to play for. So that's, I think maybe you kind of take that into account a little bit. I don't think that changes his status in the rotation. He is, either one or two, depending on how things shake out and where Flaherty is. So, I think more than anything, it's just about getting him built back up. Hopefully next time he's ready to get closer to 100 pitches. Ideally, he works those out over maybe 5 innings or so, something like 6 innings, something like that. But I think the more they can just kind of build up that arm, get that stamina going, I think that for the next, 9 games, whatever it is left, that's the most important part.
I think it's 6 games.
Actually,
Right?
yeah,
Six
it's
games. So he probably, if he's going to get a start, he's going to get one more start, and that's
in
really depends
Colorado, which
Yeah.
I'm horrible about. I don't even know if I want him there.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And it really depends on what happens with the Padres this series because it could all flip. Everything could flip just in this series by itself. It's a monster series. But Clint, do you think that how worried are you, or are you concerned at all about Yamamoto being a rookie pitcher, young rookie pitcher that is just coming off the IL after basically 2 months on the IL and now has to be the number 2 starter in a postseason game? Is there any concern there?
Not so much. I do kind of wonder if he maybe was tipping a little bit more there yesterday, or, like you said, Cubs have nothing to lose, or Rockies have nothing to lose, so they're going to go out there just G hacking and putting bat on ball. So I think that's not the best setup or best scenario for Yamamoto. But still, what we saw against the Cubs, what we saw against the what am I looking for? The Yankees. I don't think that's necessarily going to be him, but it's something pretty close. Some guy can get you some punch, get you some length in a game. Still building his way back. I'm not concerned. I'm saying a lot of things I think right now to make myself feel better about Yamamoto because he's been my ace, and I already know at 12 o'clock LA time, I got my other show, Dodgers Territory. Guys, tube in, and I know Alana is going to give me a bunch of crap about Yamamoto because that's my ace, that's my guy, and I'm like, at least he's here. Where's your boy Glass now? That's right, he's done for the year. But I'm just not worried. I'm not that worried about Yamamoto. I hope I don't come back to have to eat those words though.
Yeah, hope not. But it's really going to depend because honestly, like we were saying, this series against the Padres, if they, like, worst case scenario, they get swept and it's a tie series, the Padres would have the tiebreaker over them, and the Padres could go into the best record in the National League because the Dodgers have the best record of the Phillies, and the Padres are right behind both of them. This is a very, very crazy week, Marcus, that it's going to be interesting. Well, I don't think they're going to get swept. I think they actually win 2 or 3. I think the Cease game, even though it's Flaherty, is a game that I just don't think they have. Cease has been absolutely on fire over all of it. But I mean, if something does go wrong, Marcus, how do you think that affects the psyche of this team that's been so far ahead for so long?
I think it has some sort of an impact. I will say this. For all the questionable things we say with Dave Roberts and some of his decision making and handling pitching staffs, he feels like a pretty good motivator. He's that guy who, when things are sort of, when the house is starting to catch fire a little bit, he seems to be the one to kind of keep everything even keeled and get these guys back together again. I mean, look, we saw that a couple weeks ago when they had that team meeting, after they got the bad news about Glass now, and he just kind of got everybody kind of calm, and they went out and they played some good baseball. To your point, though, about the standings right now, in fact, I was tweeting this with our pal Bruce Kuntz yesterday. The Dodgers feel like they're as far away from locking up the 1 seed as they are to having to play in the wild card round, which tells you a lot about how the National League standings are right now. That, depending on how this week goes, they could, with 2 wins, locks up the division for them. But if worst case scenario they get swept, now you are talking about, are they going to have to play a wild card round series? I mean, it really is that thin right now, which I guess for the folks at Major League Baseball and the TV networks is great. For us who are used to having September relaxation periods where we just kind of cruise into the playoffs, I'm meditating a little bit more than I'm used to this time of year. So I think the best case scenario, get a couple wins against San Diego, lock up the division, hopefully get that at least that 1 or 2 seed locked up, and then going into Colorado is just a chance to get everybody right, to get the pitching staff in order, and not have to worry about, I just feel like worst case scenario is like having to go to Colorado, knowing that you have to win to get in, to get a division title. That is a bad place to be.
Absolutely. And then if you have to pitch Yamamoto, and you have to pitch a wild card game, you'd lose him in those wild card games at that point. So that's also something to consider there, is that how you manage your pitching staff moving forward could change based on where you are. Now, if you go straight to the DS, all those guys get rest. How important is the rest, Clint? Because at the same time, we've had the rest the last 2 years and got knocked out in 4 games or 3 games.
Yeah, I feel like this year it's never been more important because just said there, you can't waste Yamamoto in a wild card game. That would set you up for immediate failure in this postseason, at least with the minimal amount of starting pitching that you have. So you need to go out and you need to beat these Padres. You need to take at least 2 of 3. You can't let them come into your house and establish the mood right away. We know how quickly the Padres can get it up while playing this Dodgers team. Usually it happens in San Diego, but they could also get to the Dodgers here in LA. So you still control your own destiny. You need to set yourself up for that first round bye. If you have your way about it, you also need to set yourself up to not play, the potential winner of an all NL West wild card matchup or whatever it may be, because I think right now it's what Padres and Diamondbacks set to face each other.
I think it's the Mets. The Mets may
right
have
the
Mets may have passed them off of the win last night.
Okay, even so, like Mets, if they're striding as well, I just get that first round, and then whatever you have to do, and then that's the Dodgers first round, the NLDS. I don't know. I like what Marcus said there. Don't set yourself up though to need to win games in Colorado.
Yeah, no, you can't. That's the absolute last thing to do, because crazy things happen in Colorado, and I just am always absolutely terrified to go there, because it doesn't matter how well you pitch. Doesn't matter, which also makes it. I know I think it was last week or the week before was the anniversary of Hideo Nomo's no hitter in Coors Field, which is maybe one of the greatest feats of all time. I have to think.
Yeah.
So, but either way, we saw a lot of pitching. We got a lot of relief pitching over the weekend, like always. But Ben Kasperius pitched 3 innings yesterday. He got 5 strikeouts. He also did give up 1 run when he had the bases loaded. He gave up 1. But did he do enough for you there to think that, hey, Marcus, that this is a guy that we can possibly see in the postseason now that so many of these dudes have been so overworked? He's more of a fresh arm, or do you think they're going to go back and stick with the guys that they have?
I think he's in the conversation. I think at this point, there are a lot of guys in that conversation. We keep talking about the main ones in the trust tree, right? Your Kopechs, Phillips, Hudson, Trine, and Vesia. We know those guys are going to get opportunities. Then after that, I think it really is sort of an open conversation, right? How much do they trust a guy like Joe Kelly? When Joe Kelly is on, everything's great. It's just that, sometimes the roller coaster train flies off the track a little bit. You don't need that in the postseason. So, guys like that, where does a guy like, if they want a Justin Robleski, where does he potentially slot in? Where does a guy potentially like Ben Kasperius come in? Anthony Bonda looks like he's working his way back. So I think you've got, you've got 5 or 6 guys that are absolutely locked in. I think the rest of it, though, this last 6 games, I think you have guys who are going to be auditioning for potential spots in October.
Yeah. What about you, Clint? How are you feeling about the bullpen, and which guys are you actually comfortable with right now?
I will say Danny Hudson has lost a little bit of love on that trust tree. Has not been a good month of September for him. Has given up a couple dingers of late. Kasperius, you love seeing what he did. I don't think he fits into Dave Roberts' plan. If he was in the plan, if he was in the plan for the front office, we probably would have saw him a little bit earlier. Him getting used to this sort of bullpen role because he's been a starter at the minor league level. Still, it's good to know you have those kind of bodies laying around. But with the back end of the bullpen, you feel really confident. It's just about building, up to that point. I don't think Joe Kelly makes a lot of sense for this bullpen because you do need some length. Where is, Tony Gonsolin going to fit in? You need a roster spot for him. I think they do pull that lever, as the team might say. I think they do go with the Gonsolin route. Kershaw is trying to, get himself into the mix. And if Kershaw's pitching, chances are it's going to be as a starter because they just, won't not do that. So that means Landon Knack has got to be a guy who gives you some length in the bullpen. So there's still, over these next 6 games, you're playing for a lot, but you're also seeing how that competition shakes out and who can stand up, who can step forward in that bullpen. But if there's one guy I don't want to see, it's definitely Joseph Kelly. I'm sorry, Joe. You had a good run. You gave us the pouty face. And there he is down there wearing his LAX hat, looking froggy. But I just can't. Even with the clean inning yesterday, there's too much. I said it on Twitter or X. There's too much variance with Joe Kelly. I don't know that I want that in there. That heart attack. I'm already ripping my hair out. I don't want that added heart attack.
No, I'm totally with you on that. It's as much as I love Joe Kelly, I love Mariachi Joe, the pouty face, like you said, but it's game to game. It's not like he has 3 good games and then 1 or like a week of good and then like a little bit of not. It's either amazing or absolutely horrific. It just goes, and you can tell by the way that they're throwing him too. They're throwing him early. They're throwing him in low leverage situations very, very often. He came in the 4th inning yesterday after Yamamoto. He was not in the highest level when you were already down 4-0. He's just not. It doesn't seem like they're putting him in those positions. They're trying to see what they can get out of him. But if you're going to have Joe Kelly on the postseason roster, it's in high leverage situations, and he just doesn't have it for me, Marcus. I don't know if you're in agreement on that.
I completely agree with that. If we could get Boston Red Sox Joe Kelly back, I mean, the guy who shoved against the Dodgers in the World Series, like I'm all for that guy coming back. This one, it's a little bit more of a question mark. I think you have to keep at least one spot open for another lefty besides Vesia. You cannot go into the postseason with Alex Vesia as your only left-handed reliever. You just can't.
It just seems like that's the way they're going to go there. I don't even know what other lefty they would bring up. They're not getting Nick Ramirez up here.
I mean, Banda
is close to coming back. He might be activated in the series, it sounds like, or at the bare minimum throwing a bullpen, but I don't know that he's going to have like a lot of buildup to be able to prove that, I'm worth this roster spot again. He was good, but who knows? Maybe the clock struck midnight while he was injured and decided to, I guess he slammed something. He wanted to make sure he set the record straight. He didn't just punch a wall like an idiot. He broke his hand like an idiot in a different way.
Yeah, no matter what, it was like an idiot, especially at this time of year. It was so dumb for him to do it. He was not pitching well the last, 3, 4, 5 starts that he actually relief appearances that he had. Yeah, outings. Thank you. Like it just wasn't all that great. But hey, we got to get out of here. It's a football Monday, and it's going to be Travis and DeMarco. Clint, thank you very much as always. Why don't you just tell us where we can find you, we can do more with you.
Yeah, today's my busy day. You got a lot of me today. Dodgers territory, 12 p.m. Pacific time. Myself, Alana Rizzo, recapping the weekend. I think we got a guest on as well. So tube in at that for that Dodgers territory here on YouTube. And then tonight, during the Monday Night Football, so people, have 2 screens going. My channel, Clint, All Dodgers with Clint Pasillas, will be taking voicemails, people complaining about the team, having a good time, hopefully, as we head into this ever important Padres series.
All right. Well, thanks very much. Go check out Clint Pasillas because he's great at everything he does. We've had him on, and he can be here every single Monday as well. All right. Thank you to Parker Bell for always setting us all up. Marcus, appreciate you as always for being here, and we will be back here again, 8:30 to 8:55, all the way through the playoffs. And thank you very much. See you all tomorrow. Thanks, LEX.
Bye.